Yes, so what are the essential technical elements for success in Decentraland open source projects?
Well, first of all, you have to decide which Git repository you're going to use, GitHub or
Mm-hmm.
GitLab. Um, I personally favor GitLab, but both of them are very good. The code should be well crafted, well structured, and internally documented comments. And then you need to have reference documentation. Um, uh,
Mm-hmm.
maybe in Google Docs, maybe in the Git repository. Then you need to have somebody that is the check-in master, because if people do want to
Mm-hmm.
do an improvement, offer an improvement, they're going to code it and then do what's called a pull request. And you have to have somebody that processes those, looks at the change that's being proposed, and either rejects it, preferably with an explanation, or accepts it as it is, or accepts it but makes some modifications to make it more correct.
What strategies do you use to engage the community in the development and support of the project?
And then, you want to build a community discussion location somewhere where people can, discuss the future of the project and how they're using it, a forum of some sort. You could go into the to one of the Discord channels of the DAO and make reference to it. Say, we submitted this thing to the forum to get feedback before we submit it as a proposal. Please take a look through it.
What monetization models do you find like the most effective for open source projects in Decentraland? We are right now watching towards hybrid models such as an open core.
You just need to make sure that um, the free tier is quite sufficient for people to function with, and that the other features are features that a more funded commercial enterprise would want and need. But like a private landowner should be able to get everything that they need for basic advertising and
Mhm.
metrics in the free tier. So so that they won't come in, try the free tier, and say, "Well, I just really can't use this because all the really useful stuff is in the paid tier." Um, so you need to make sure that the paid tier really is, uh, real enhancements for scale, for more commercial sorts of clients, etc. And the other way you can make money is
Mhm.
provide support services, installation services, advice, consulting, etc.
Got
Open
it.
source companies make their income primarily off of, like for example, Red Hat. There's a version of Red Hat that's free,
Yeah, Red
right?
Hat.
But
Hmm. Yeah, I
they
know.
make a
I
lot of
know.
money doing added value services. Um,
Yeah.
and you should make
Uh,
that tier one and tier two differentiation very clear in the proposal. What you're doing is you're making an
okay.
open source code base for the first tier and making that available for free to the community. And will contain these functions. And then the paid tier, which is how you guys have an ongoing business, would contain these enhancements. If you can make that distinction in the proposal, I think you should.
What part of the code should be given as an open source, especially since like a lot of people are afraid that the code will be used by the others?
Radically improves what you have, people will stay with the first one because it's the one that's going to get support and it's the one that's going to stay ahead on features, etc. The other two
Hmm.
would be playing catch up. Um, s- I don't think you need to worry a whole lot about that. But I think the area to think about carefully is the open source project a sufficient solution that somebody could install and create a server-side service themselves? You need to decide that. I'm not going to tell you which one you should do, but you need to be very clear in your mind about it and clear in the proposal. So one of the problems with holding the entire back end to yourself, and this will be something that people will worry about, is what if you decide to stop supporting it? What if you go out of
Hmm. If
business, right? Then their whole
uh,
system stops working. So
mhm.
um, the you might want to put in there that you guarantee to open source the backend if you cease operations.
I got it. So it should be like some kind of stipulation. For example, if we are leaving Decentraland and we are opening the whole technology, I mean the backend technology, and if we still keeping it, yes, and if we are supporting Decentraland, we can keep the whole backend stored on our site.
I
Yes,
think
something
so.
like this.
I think that would be acceptable. People will know that the open source part is the client that goes in their code, and they're welcome to modify it some if they want because it's open source, so they want to integrate it in a little different way or something like I've done. Uh, but that they're not going to want to rely on it unless they know that it's a long-term, that they can make long-term commitment to it. And so they need to know what happens in the future to the back end. In the meantime,
Mm-hmm.
while you're operating it, what they do is they don't have to worry about that. They just get money.